Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome back. It's a real pleasure to be with you for this incredibly important session. In our journey so far, we've focused on the principles of building, managing, and leading technology projects. We've been the architects, the engineers, and the project managers. Today, we're going to change our perspective completely. To become truly great professionals, we need to learn how to think like the people who want to tear down everything we've built. We need to think like an attacker. Our focus today is K11, the nature and scope of common vulnerabilities in digital and technology solutions. For example, the risks of insecure coding and unprotected networks. This session is all about understanding the weak spots. In every system, every application, and every network, there are potential flaws, digital unlocked doors and open windows that a malicious person could exploit. Our purpose is to pull back the curtain and examine these weaknesses, not to be scared of them, but to understand them. Because only by understanding how things break can we learn to build them to be truly resilient. By the end of this session, my objective for you is that you'll be able to confidently identify at least one common type of vulnerability, explain the risk it poses, and describe a practical step you could take to mitigate it. This is a skill that is not only vital for your career but will also give you a fantastic piece of evidence for your portfolio. Before we dive into the technical details, we must get our language right. In the world of cybersecurity, the words vulnerability, threat, and risk have very specific meanings. They are often used interchangeably in everyday conversation, but as professionals, we need to be precise. Getting this right is the foundation of all clear thinking about security. First, a vulnerability. A vulnerability is a weakness. It's a flaw in our system, a simple, static fact. For example, a server in your company's data center that is missing a critical security update is a vulnerability. The fact that a developer has used a weak, default password for an admin account is a vulnerability. Second, a threat. A threat is something or someone that could potentially exploit that vulnerability. A new piece of ransomware that is specifically designed to attack that missing security update is a threat. A hacker group that actively searches for default passwords is a threat. We often have no control over threats, they simply exist out there in the world. Finally, we have risk. Risk is what happens when a threat meets a vulnerability. It's the potential for something bad to happen, the potential for loss or damage. The risk is that the ransomware, the threat, will successfully infect your unpatched server, the vulnerability, and encrypt all your company's data. This distinction is critical. We can't eliminate all the threats in the world, but we can control our vulnerabilities. Our entire job as technology professionals is to find and fix the vulnerabilities in our systems to reduce the risk posed by those external threats. I need to be very clear that this is not an abstract or academic topic. The vulnerabilities we're about to discuss are exploited every single day, causing enormous damage to businesses, reputations, and individuals' lives. The stakes could not be higher. Let's look at some famous examples that prove this point. In 2017, the credit rating agency Equifax suffered a devastating breach. The cause? A single, well-known vulnerability in a piece of open-source software that they had simply failed to patch. It was a known issue with a known fix that wasn't applied. Attackers exploited it and stole the deeply sensitive financial data of 147 million people. In 2016, Uber developers made a simple but catastrophic mistake. They accidentally included a secret password, an access key for their cloud servers, in a piece of code they uploaded to a public repository on GitHub. Hackers are constantly scanning for exactly this kind of mistake. They found the key and used it to download the personal data of 57 million users and drivers. The crucial lesson from these and countless other breaches is that the root cause is often not some super advanced, secret hacking technique you see in the movies. It's a failure of process, a failure of awareness, a failure to manage a common, well-understood vulnerability. This is why this knowledge is so important for every single one of us. Our diligence in getting the basics right is what prevents these disasters. The standard correctly points us to the two main battlefronts where we fight against vulnerabilities, unsecure coding and unprotected networks. It's helpful to think of these as two distinct but equally important areas of defense. First, unsecure coding. These are the vulnerabilities that are baked into the software itself. They are mistakes made by developers during the creation of the application. These are flaws in the logic, the structure, and the implementation of the code. To use our house analogy, this is like building a house with cheap, weak locks on all the doors and windows. The very construction of the house is flawed. The second front is unprotected networks. These are vulnerabilities in the environment and infrastructure around the software. This includes the servers, the databases, the firewalls, the routers, and how they are all configured, connected, and maintained. This is like building a house with the strongest doors and locks imaginable, but then leaving the main gate to the property wide open and not bothering to build a fence. The house itself might be secure, but the land it's on is not. A truly resilient system requires us to be vigilant on both fronts. The most perfectly secure code in the world can be compromised if it's running on a vulnerable network. And the most secure network in the world can't protect an application that has a major, exploitable coding flaw. We have to get both right. When it comes to understanding vulnerabilities in code, the single most important resource in the world is the OWASP Top 10. OWASP is a global non-profit organization dedicated to improving software security, and every few years they publish a data-driven list of the 10 most critical security risks facing web applications. Knowing about OWASP is a mark of a true professional. Let's look at a few of the most common examples from their list to understand the nature of these flaws. Number 1 on their most recent list is broken access control. This is when an application fails to properly enforce who is allowed to do what. A classic example is an admin page that is protected only by not being linked to from the main site. An attacker could simply guess the URL, like admin, and if the system doesn't properly check their permissions on the server side, they're in. Another classic is injection. This happens when a developer trusts the data that a user types into a form without cleaning it first. For example, an attacker might type a malicious database command into a website's search box. If the code is written insecurely, the website might accidentally run that command on its own database, potentially deleting or exposing all of its data. A third, and incredibly common one, is vulnerable and outdated components. Modern software is not written from scratch, it's assembled from hundreds of open-source libraries and frameworks. The vulnerability occurs when one of those components has a publicly known security flaw, and the development team fails to update it to a secure version. This is exactly what happened to Equifax and is a huge challenge for every software team today. Now let's turn to our other battlefront, the network. Vulnerabilities here are often less about complex programming logic and more about basic digital hygiene, configuration, and maintenance. But they are just as dangerous. One of the most common, and most easily exploited, is the use of weak or default passwords. Using a simple, easily guessable password, or even worse, leaving the default password that a device like a router or a server came with, is the digital equivalent of leaving your front door key under the doormat. It's often the very first thing an attacker will try. Just as we saw with software components, another huge vulnerability is unpatched software. This applies to everything on the network, the Windows or Linux operating system on the server, the software running the database, and even the internal software, or firmware, that runs on your firewalls and switches. Attackers have automated tools that are constantly scanning the internet for systems that are missing the latest security updates. Next, we have misconfigured firewalls. A firewall is the security guard for your network, controlling what traffic is allowed in and out. A simple typo in a configuration file could accidentally open a port that should be closed, creating a wide open door for an attacker to walk right through. This was the root cause of the Capital One breach. And finally, a classic vulnerability is a lack of encryption. When you send data across a network, especially a public one like the Wi-Fi in a coffee shop, if that data is not encrypted, anyone else on that network can potentially intercept it and read it. It's like writing your bank details on a postcard and putting it in the mail instead of in a sealed envelope. A common and dangerous bias is to think that security is only the job of the security team. That is completely wrong. Let's look at how this knowledge is a core part of the job for our technical specialists. For you, Chloe, as a software engineer, you are the first and most important line of defense against coding vulnerabilities. It is your professional duty to understand these flaws to avoid creating them. This is called secure by design. Every time you write a function, you should be asking questions based on security principles. For example, the principle of least privilege means asking, does this piece of code have access to more data or more permissions than it absolutely needs to do its job? The principle of input validation means never, ever trusting data that comes from a user until you have cleaned and validated it. Liam, as our network engineer, you are the guardian of the infrastructure. Your role is one of constant, diligent vigilance. The network vulnerabilities we just discussed, patching, firewall rules, access management, these aren't someone else's job. They are your core responsibility. Your expertise is what protects the entire company's digital estate from the ground up. And Maya, as our cybersecurity analyst, this is the heart of your profession. Your entire job is to understand the nature of these vulnerabilities, to use sophisticated tools like vulnerability scanners and security information and event management systems, or SIEMs, to find these flaws, and then to work with Chloe and Liam's teams to get them fixed. K11 is your daily reality. Now, it's just as important to understand that security is not only for those deep technical roles. It's a responsibility for everyone who handles data or designs systems. For you, Ben, as a data analyst, you are a custodian. You are entrusted with what the attackers want most, the data. While you may not be writing the firewall rules, you have a professional duty to understand the vulnerabilities of the systems you use. You need to ensure that you are accessing, storing, and sharing that sensitive data in a secure and compliant way, respecting regulations like the Data Protection Act. And this might be the most important point of the day. For Tom, our business analyst, and Aisha, our IT consultant, you are arguably the true first line of defense. Why? Because vulnerabilities are often created by a lack of clear requirements long before a single line of code is written. Your job, right at the start of a project, is to act as the conscience of the team, asking those crucial questions: what are the security requirements here? What sensitive data will this system handle, and how will we protect it? What are the risks? If you don't build security into the requirements, the chances of it being built into the final product are almost zero. Okay, let's make this knowledge practical and turn it into tangible evidence for your portfolio. The assessors aren't expecting you to be a world-leading security expert, but they're expecting you to be aware of these risks and to be thinking about them in your day-to-day work. Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, Action 1, read a policy. Go and find your company's information security policy. I guarantee you have one. Read it. Find one specific rule in that policy, for example, the rule about how complex your password needs to be. In your portfolio, write down that rule and then explain which vulnerability, weak passwords, it is designed to protect against. This is a perfect, simple piece of evidence. Second, Action 2, research a vulnerability. Pick any one of the vulnerabilities from the OWASP top 10 list. Just one. Spend 20 minutes reading the basics of what it is. Then, in your own words, write a short paragraph in your learning log explaining the vulnerability and the risk it poses. This demonstrates the professional behavior of maintaining your awareness of current threats. Third, Action 3, review your own work. Think about a task you've completed this week. Did it involve any sensitive data? Did you have to log into a secure system? Write a short reflection on one security consideration you made. It could be as simple as, when I was working with the customer list, I made sure to save the file to the secure, encrypted drive as per our company policy, and not onto my local machine, to mitigate the risk of data loss if my laptop was stolen. This shows you are applying the knowledge directly. Finally, let's talk about your major project. For the endpoint assessment, demonstrating your understanding of security is not just a nice to have, it is a core requirement and a key differentiator for achieving the higher grades of merit or distinction. You must include a dedicated section in your final project report under a heading like Security Considerations or Risk Assessment. This is non-negotiable. In that section, you need to do 2 things. First, you must proactively identify at least one potential vulnerability that is relevant to the specifics of your project. You should name it. For example, if you've built a web application, you might say, a potential vulnerability in this project is SQL injection, as defined in the OWASP top 10. If you've implemented a new network, you could say, a key risk was the potential for the new devices to be deployed with insecure default passwords. Second, you must then describe the specific, practical steps you took to mitigate that vulnerability. For the coding example, you would explain how you used a specific programming technique to prevent injection attacks. For the network example, you would describe the step in your process where you ensured all default passwords were changed. This shows the assessors that you are not just aware of theoretical risks, but that you are a professional who takes active steps to build secure solutions. Let's do a quick recap. Today, we have learned to think like an attacker. We've defined the critical difference between a vulnerability, a threat, and a risk. We've explored the main battlefronts for security, our code, our networks, and just as importantly, our project requirements. And we've seen that security is not just one person's job, it is a professional responsibility for every single one of us. Your mission for this week is to put on your security hat. Please, just choose one of the simple actions from the portfolio slide. Take one small, deliberate step to develop your security awareness and, crucially, write it down. This is how you turn knowledge into skill, and skill into evidence. This provides a perfect foundation for our next session on K12, where we'll explore the systems that store the very asset we're trying to protect, our data, and understand the critical role of data management systems. Thank you for your excellent focus on this vital topic. You've learned the first and most important rule of building a strong defense: know your own weaknesses. Well done.